Just
Fine.
started it. You see, Jay? You
Fine.
think I won't? You
I
think
started recording it. You're welcome.
Look at that. Thank you guys so much. You see, this is the type of energy I want. I want you guys to just be ready to tackle the world, all of that.
Just so you know, I don't have headphones, so everything you say will also go in my recording. So I hope that doesn't matter.
Oh my
Oh
god.
my god, Ava.
You say this after you hit record. This is the things I'm talking about. Like,
Ava.
I'm like, hey Ava, do you want to take some time, possibly do something else? And you're like, no, we can do it now. And then once we start, you're like, by the way, this thing in our audio adventure is going to ruin it. Like, imagine picking up a movie and then, like, right when the movie starts, it's like, by the way, we got, like, someone recording the movie through a camcorder, so you got the shaky quality.
You always do the thing where you want to record and then start or something. So I don't know what's going on.
Go get your headphones.
I don't have any. I am a broke.
Oh
poor
my
person.
god. Give me your PayPal. This is
Hey.
annoying. You cannot
really?
ruin our... Yes, you cannot ruin our audio adventure, okay? Because of the lack of
Adventure?
headphones.
I will dead ass give you my
Yes!
PayPal.
Alright.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Hold on.
Dude, because you can't do
forgot
that.
what
Because
it
we
is.
might need your audio.
I mean, it's fine.
It's
fine.
not
What do you
fine.
mean?
Because
Fine.
if we're talking over each other right now, so if there's a point where they don't want my audio, but they want yours, they're gonna... Look, when I did the Guess the Cartoon Challenge with Phantom Strider, that it was also a problem there. And it was a pain to edit those parts out. The thing is, I didn't know beforehand. You're telling me it beforehand. That it might be an issue. So yes, headphones. I'm investing into this podcast. And you guys better invest your time into being on time so that we can become the #1 podcast. All right?
This is
Yeah, let's go.
You know,
I'm wearing earphones.
2 minutes in.
All right, introduce yourselves.
Omega, you want to go first?
I'll let you go first.
Oh, why would you? Okay. Hello, my name is Ava, and I am a full-time voice actor. I don't. Jay, I don't. How did we do this in the beginning? I don't even remember.
You know what? It's already off on the bad start. Let me introduce these two. All right, so on my left we have mega talented, mega passionate Ava, also known as Just a Voice, also known as Hyena Warrior. Literally one of the best professional voice actors that I know, that I have the honor and privilege of being a friend. You should definitely check them out. And to my right, I have the super nice, lawful good, super passionate about animation, super passionate about games. Don't even get me started on games that are based on animation and vice versa. We have Mr. Omega, aka Omega1234, aka he really needs to get an OC because I'm looking at Kirby right now and I really want to figure out what it's gonna be. These two are two of good friends of mine who I really hope you guys like and enjoy for the podcast. All right. Now that we got those introductions that you guys wanted, by the way, out of the way, let's get on to some good stuff. All right.
Hello,
as
Internet.
soon as I started this podcast, I called these two nerds. What I was doing beforehand was editing this video for Long Gone Gulch.
Oh yes,
So let's get into that.
I'm be honest. I actually really loved that. Like, is it a pilot, right?
Yeah, it's
Or
a
like
pilot.
It's
Okay. Because it's basically an episode at this point, like a pilot episode. But I really liked it. Which, like, for a pilot, it's just like, it astounds me. Like, I've seen a lot of pilots and they can be more like animatic stuff, or the voiceover isn't great quality. They got their voice actors from like SAG-AFTRA, so you know it's gonna be great quality. There was a huge budget for it. The people who both ran and created the pilot like work on really big animation like shows, like animated shows. So I was just impressed that two people who work on shows came together and created a really unique idea. I was talking to Omega about this, that I thought when I first was gonna watch it, it would be more crude. Like, I honestly thought it would be, because it's the graphics, although everything looks nice, it's not supposed to look pretty. It's not a pretty city. It looks like garbo. It looks garbage. It's I mean, that's a good thing though. Like, you see it and you're like, ew, sometimes, because things are dying. There's a lot of violence. Things are falling apart. So I thought because of that setting it was in, it would be just more crude in general, but no. And I was actually pleasantly surprised that the humor it had wasn't low-hanging fruit. It was like kind of reminded me of the early 2000s, and the expressions with animation actually reminded me a lot of like the Mighty B series. Even though I haven't watched that in forever, but like just see how like expressive the characters were. That animation style kind of reminded me back to that era.
Well, you killed it. I'll say that. As a person who listened to themselves talk about it, what I'll say is I love it. As I said when I commented on the pilot, I enjoyed the adventure of it. And before I even get to any of that, I just enjoyed having something different, having a Western themed pilot, just something fresh, something new, something that isn't necessarily, it doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, recreating the wheel, but it's something that we haven't had a lot as far as in the common public and modern animation for a while. I enjoyed that aspect. I enjoyed the aspect of having this dynamic of both of these main characters, Rawhide and Snag, aren't on the same page often. In fact, a lot of times Snag gets in Rawhide's way and Rawhide can also get in her own way, not being able to control her emotions. I love the music. I just like the general sentiment of it all before we even get into what it was about.
I know that you've been talking about wanting like a Western cartoon for a while. Like, I remember you mentioning that before about how there's a lot of oversaturation. Oversaturation. Am I saying that right? Oversaturation. Yes.
Yes, oversaturation. It's this, that rant is definitely on the lost episode of this podcast.
Yes, it is. But I know, yeah, with all the fantasy, I know that, you know, you can like some of it, but you're kind of sick of seeing a lot of it. So I think a Western cartoon would definitely pull you specifically in.
Yeah, in addition to that, it's just good on its own merits. Like, it's just a really, really fun adventure. It has great animation. I was rooting for the main characters. I enjoyed the small bits of history that we've got. In fact, my favorite character in it is Marigold, who morally is like a chaotic neutral, if anything. Or like a neutral evil. I don't know.
Neutral evil, for sure.
Well,
But what would your guys' favorite characters within it?
You want to go first, Omega?
I think, honestly, I think my favorite character from the pilot, I really liked, what was the main girl's name?
Rawhide.
Yeah, Rawhide. I really liked her. I also really liked, I kind of liked the mayor. Like, he doesn't really, because usually when you see mayors in cartoons, usually it's like the mayor's like very professional and the like, but this mayor is like kind of I don't know how to describe it. He just kind of is weird.
He's small, he's pudgy, and he's definitely using his position of power to hit on Marigold, and I love it.
He looks like,
Yeah.
the only thing I remember from like really stood out to me is when all of his hair came off, he just looked like a uncooked chicken, and
Yeah.
that'll always be ingrained into my mind. So thank you for that.
But how about you, Ava?
I was between actually the main villain of the story, the kind
Mako.
of shark character with, what is his name?
Mako.
Mako. Yeah, I love him. Just kind of like his voice actor, especially, like he has like this gruff, nice voice, very smooth, good delivery, and his character design is very unique. You wouldn't really expect a shark out of water to have like facial hair and be all like rugged and kind of this whole uniform. Like, I don't know, I just really liked his design and character overall. He was intimidating but also silly, and it didn't really feel like it was imbalanced there. It was like the perfect point for that. And then I really liked Rawhide as well. I liked her backstory. Like, you know, her dad has passed away, and you don't really know how, but you know that he was like a huge sheriff, and she wants to be the next sheriff. And so you can see like the overarching story already to the show of her struggle with that and where that'll take her.
How'd you guys feel about BW?
About what?
The character in the saloon that Rawhide had an issue with. She would also come back during that grave scene to give her back the sheriff star.
Oh,
Her badge.
her. She was alright. I didn't. She wasn't my favorite character in the pilot, but I didn't mind her.
Honestly, I think she was my least favorite character in the pilot. I'm gonna be real with you.
I'll go even farther than
Yeah.
that.
What?
I didn't like the voice direction.
Yeah.
Everything else about the character I liked.
When we watched that, I mentioned that as well. I don't know.
It sounds like it just needed better direction, because there is an art to getting like a low-key, soft-spoken sort of character down without it sounding how it did. Everything else about the character I liked. I like the rival, the frenemies aspect. But yeah, that voice, it just doesn't fit. It feels like someone reading the lines rather than the character itself.
Yeah, I didn't really like maybe to me I was more of like the voice that she did have, because when she presented herself, I thought she would be more of like a, you know, bad girl kind of character. And she ended up having this like very low tone that just was like almost, you know, sadder and like doesn't care. I get it, but I mean, I don't know. If I if I did that, I probably wouldn't have went with the voice direction in that way. Cause I don't know, an antagonist, like this is an ongoing antagonist or like frenemy character, and Rawhide has so much expression and emotion to everything. I love that. It's great. And to have that contrasted, it can be good to have somebody who's not super expressive, but I just feel like it kind of clashed a little bit. I mean, I would like to see the character of how they expand on her, but honestly, I didn't really like her that much at all, because like, why are you patronizing Rawhide so much? Like, I don't know why. Are you just being a jerk to be a jerk? And Rawhide's very small compared to her. It kind of I was kind of like, how old is this frenemy comparatively to like Rawhide? I don't know their age.
Right. I definitely got a lot of that too, and the only fact or the only reason that I know that they were they're less rivals and more frenemies is because if you look at the end credits, there's a scene in which they're hanging out casually. So that leads me to believe that if they were to do more things with this, that it's not that BW and Rawhide aren't friends, it's just that they don't see eye to eye. I don't know if it's because of the badge, because that's really the only thing that we have to go on as far as like their sort of tiff, but that was one of my two sources of contention with the short. Everything else I loved. Now the second one is very, it might be unpopular, but because of the fact that they spent a large portion of the short focusing on Rawhide in particular, I felt like the dynamics between Rawhide and Snag might have suffered a little bit. I know a lot of people might like Snag, and I'm not saying that I don't, but I definitely feel like in future shorts, just getting able to understand more about him, like why did he go into juvie, or if he's such a rebel, why did he want to do the sheriff job, like just things that because this character was really it was kind of all over the place, being able to complement the journey that Rawhide was going into in particular. In fact, most of the antagonists focus more on her than him, so it kind of felt like it was kind of put to the wayside, which isn't the biggest deal because it was still entertaining nonetheless. But given that you're seeing these two characters as a duo, and they even spent a good portion after the saloon scene establishing that them breaking up and being in different spots, you know, having an argument, having a disagreement was supposed to be a major deal, it would have helped if I knew a little bit more about Snag. I might be in the minority in that.
No, I agree with that. I honestly, because I think the way that the pilot presented it is that they're both like main characters to the story, but I really only felt that Rawhide was the main character. I thought that he was more of like just like a friend of the main character, you know what I mean? I don't know if they were intending for him to be one of the main characters, but if it was, I didn't really get that.
It felt like he wasn't really the main character. Honestly, he was more of a side character. I did enjoy him, but I definitely don't know. Maybe later on they'll, if they ever make another episode or make this bigger, maybe they'll expand on him more. But as right now, he's definitely not my favorite character in this pilot.
I mean, I did like the duo a lot though. There's something interesting about their dynamic because I thought, again, going in with like assumptions before watching it, you know, you look at the stuff and you're like, oh, I'm assuming. I thought Rawhide would be more of like the crazy, quirky girl character, and Snag would be more of like the character who kind of pulls that back. But no, they're both like definitely chaotic, but they're also not it's like not too much, you know what I mean? Like they're not hurting each other with how much chaos is there. So I think that character dynamic is really well done and kind of unique to some of the stuff I've seen. So I would definitely watch the show. Like I would love to see the show become a show. I hope it like gets picked up if it hasn't already, because I would definitely love it.
The question is, where do you guys think? Like, where's the best spot?
I think for the best place for this to go, probably Netflix. That's my best guess. If not, maybe possibly Adult Swim.
I wouldn't think
that's my
Adult
two guesses.
Swim. Because I feel
I see why he says that, even though I'm with you, because like this doesn't really feel like it fits alongside what Cartoon Network has been doing, but at the same time it's kind of appealing to the same demographic, if that makes sense.
no,
That's
I get
why
it.
I said Adult Swim, because I kind of felt like it's not really appealing. It wouldn't really fit with Cartoon Network's lineup, but I kind of feel like it would fit a little bit with Adult Swim. But like I said, if I put this on network, I'd probably say Netflix.
Yeah, I definitely feel like Adult Swim, like because of how their shows are lined up, this is more for like a general audience, clearly, which I actually like. I was like, cool. So I don't think it would really fit with more adult themed shows. But you're right about like nowadays Cartoon Network. I don't know if it would fit well. Although if Cartoon Network did allow them just to do what they wanted with it, I feel like it could be very similar to some of their past shows. But honestly, nowadays I see a lot of like indie pilots just staying indie. So who knows?
My first choice would always be just the internet, just dropping it on YouTube.
Yeah.
But if there had to be a better distribution or things like that, then Netflix. But I'm actually gonna throw a curveball. I think given what I know about this already, I would actually put this on Disney if I had to put it on TV.
Actually, I see.
I wouldn't put it on Cartoon Network because I feel like they may introduce like an ongoing narrative within it, and that's kind of Disney's bag with a lot of different shows. And plus it'll kind of show that you can have the sort of structure that a lot of Disney shows have, but you can place it within different themes and narratives. And this would just be a nice little addition to that. I can definitely see this going up in between like Amphibia and Big City Greens and not feeling too out of place. It'd be really hard with Cartoon Network considering that they have like Craig of the Creek and Teen Titans Go, like Long Gone Gulch doesn't really seem to fit that type of
The
energy
demographic.
or
Yeah.
definitely the demographic, but just not the energy. Like it's just a different type of writing philosophy. I'm really glad that none of us said Nick, even though it definitely I did get Mighty B vibes. In fact, when it comes to the main character, might just be me, but they sounded like they were drifting in and out of Tommy Pickles as far as the voice. Like they had like that vocal strain, like that intentional strain on their voice. I kind of like that. And then I guess my second question would be, since I'm sitting here with two very highly successful animation executives, what would you do with this? Like, what would you do with this as far as like support? Like, how would be your marketing solution as far as getting people to not only support this, but make it profitable? We don't generally talk about this, but I was thinking in this case, not clothes, but costumes. I feel like with the Western theme, right? Getting like the hat or like different types of outfits that they were wearing, I feel like that would definitely appeal.
Like the clothing pieces, like the actual, instead of like the characters on a t-shirt, like you would want the clothing props.
I mean that in addition to that too, but like whereas with other stuff that we talk about, it's like but like with Western, I just feel like that fits, like having like those, I guess you would call them authentic pieces next to like graphic tees and whatnot. That for sure.
I that could work. I could see that. I really want one of those, I forget what they're called, but you know, the little dust bunnies who have the little legs, they look like little spiders. Oh my gosh, I love them. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
They were everywhere. They were everywhere in the pilot.
Dust
like the little
bunnies.
I don't know what they're called.
No, I don't remember that. I have to take your word for it, unless Omega knows.
I'm not sure.
They infested the town. Like that was what the mayor was.
Oh, the Tumbleweedians?
Yes, like that. Yeah, some people call them. Yeah, those. I want one. I want one of those. Like
as a plush.
I would pay money.
I mean, that's a very interesting plush. You're gonna take something very bony and just full of sticks and just like make it a plush.
Either that or just give me some like fake plant version of it. Like I'd be,
right.
Crap. Like I want to see it.
Jay, I've seen some weird looking plushes, so I don't think a tumbleweed plush is that out of the ordinary, honestly.
You know what? That's a future segment right there.
That's true.
So Jay, going back to it's funny you mentioned the Tommy Pickles thing, because the voice of Rawhide is actually the same voice who voices Tommy.
Yeah, kind of heard it. Like it just felt like it.
Yeah,
she's doing great. I actually really like that. At first I was like, I don't know if this raspiness if it worked, because she has like this rasp to her voice, and I'm like, that's not what I expected. But like as the character continues, she kind of goes in and out of that. Like her voice fluctuates from different like pitches and like the range of how raspy it is, and I did like that. It felt more whole to the character, like it wasn't stuck in a box. So I like her voice. But for like the show overall, like I don't know, like episode count, that's what I was wondering. Like for this kind of show, for like a season, how many would you give it for one season, would you think?
Well, that's a good question. I would, obviously, if it were me, I would give, like, within reason, as many as the creator wants, obviously, but that's a safe choice. If I were to think about it, though, provided that the pilot is kind of in the ballpark of what they're trying to do, because the pilot had an adventure feel, I can totally see this being a 22-minute thing, which then goes hand in hand with it being on Disney. And then you can do similar to what you did with like Amphibia and Owl House and have it be like a 10 to 20 episode sort of deal. But if they're just trying to do something wacky and just like in 11 minutes, then yeah, like 20, 25, 26.
I definitely see them doing like an overarching story. That's why I at least like see from the pilot. It looks like they're setting that up. So I think it would be like a 20-minute episodes or something. That's my guess. which I would like to see. Which I could totally see them doing what like Disney and Netflix do with those shows and giving like 12, to 20, something around there of episodes, and then you would leave it off some cliffhanger and then make another season because that's what you do. Like I could see them doing that.
So lots of fans with Long Gone Gulch. Let's see how many fans we have on this podcast when we talk about the other new development in animation, Camp Coral. We got a first look. I initially got it on Twitter, but just like with my quarantine crab video, as soon as I put it out, like they put out another version, a widescreen version, and everyone's like, why didn't you use the widescreen version? It's like, because I only had this version. But it came out, we all took a look at it. I don't know if did you guys watch that together or separately?
No, I watched it on my
Separately.
phone.
Yeah, I watched it separately.
Well, I'm actually curious to hear your guys' thoughts.
Well, here's the thing. As much as a big SpongeBob fan I am, even of like the worst seasons of the show, like there's some episodes I could say, oh, I love that episode from like season 6 and 7. Even I will have to say, Camp Coral just didn't really impress me that much. I think that like the main issue I have with it is that it just doesn't feel necessary. Like I get like, because when I was watching like what the writing style was for it, it was no different from regular SpongeBob. It didn't really feel like its own thing. It just kind of felt like it could just be a SpongeBob episode. And I know that sounds weird to say, but like I kind of was expecting a little, if they were gonna make like a spin-off of SpongeBob, I feel that they should kind of still distinguish it a little bit. And plus, I wasn't really impressed with the animation either. It like the actual movement of the characters wasn't bad, but like the environments, I don't know, they just didn't look that great. Like I definitely am gonna give the first episode a shot when it comes out, since it has not come out yet, but in terms of first impressions of like this clip, I'm not super impressed with it.
I will say I just really hope that what they showed us wasn't the final product, because the animation does not make me happy. Like the models are kind of scary sometimes, because drawing, it feels like they took SpongeBob and tried to transfer it over directly into this modeled, like, different style, but it just doesn't work sometimes, and I feel like they're not pushing some of the expressionism as well as they could have with stuff. It like moves awkwardly, and like I remember seeing Squidward and like his wrinkles or something, like the way they would move or something, it was just like not normal, kind of uncomfortable. Very weird how some of the model stuff works. Like they would try to do those shots in SpongeBob where they like zoom in for extra detail or effect and then zoom back out, but because of like how the style is, like usually in SpongeBob, like they'd zoom in and the character's drawn in a like grotesque or obscure way, but it didn't really work as well translated to here. So all in all, I just don't like the animation. I would have expected it to be way different for, being SpongeBob, which is like the biggest show on Nickelodeon.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll agree with like what Omega said. Kind of feels unnecessary. Like honestly, I would have liked to see more. Like, who doesn't like SpongeBob? Like, if it's done well, we like seeing SpongeBob. But if you're gonna do it, like, I feel like it's kind of jumping on the train of babyfying things, which is fine if it's done right, but it was kind of like they're like, oh, we need something new, let's babyfy the characters, and not really think about what that meant or like what it means, because there isn't like a lot of new characters. Like that was one of the things that bugged me. I was like, so they're at a camp and like, yeah, there's other camp people, but they like never talk to them. There is no personality within anybody who's different. It's kind of just reskinning the characters from the original show and their relationships and trying to translate it over. And you can kind of see that because Sandy's in there, and I know Sandy's not supposed to be there.
Mhm.
They didn't take time to make different relationship dynamics or different relationships with different characters. They just kind of tried to repeat something, but of course, like, that's just not good for a show, in my opinion, is to try to recreate it but go halfway. At that point, just keep making the show and don't do that. I don't know. Like, I would still watch it and give it a chance. I'm not gonna go like all hateful on it, but I was not impressed at it at all. And I know a lot of SpongeBob fans were very disappointed with it.
Do you guys feel like the comparisons to Camp Lazlo still hold up? A lot of people said that.
It has been a while since I've seen Camp Lazlo, but not like from what I remember of Camp Lazlo, I don't think there's a ton of similarities between Camp Coral and Camp Lazlo. But like, it's been a long time since I've seen Camp Lazlo, so I have to give it another rewatch. But from what I remember, like, of the setting, I don't really see too many similarities aside from just like, oh, they're both at camp.
Camp, yeah.
And I think they both even have Tom Kenny in it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I think they even use the same music from SpongeBob too.
Yeah, they do. They both use the APM music library. So do I.
Which is great.
I mean, there's other camp shows. I feel like people like Camp, right?
Very good. Anyway, that's a good
The
show.
first told drama series.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
there's
there's,
other
like,
camp shows.
Just because it's camp doesn't mean it's the same thing.
Gravity Falls.
Gravity Falls wasn't really camp though.
It had camp vibes, but yeah, it wasn't
It-
camp.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. There are other things. We just are forgetting them.
This probably it. Like, but yeah, I never really got those. Another criticism that I saw floating around was that the models in Rehydrated look better. But I don't know. I don't know if this is the final. It couldn't be because like the shading looks like noticeably bad.
You said it couldn't be.
Yeah.
Oh,
For like
It
20,
couldn't be like if
21.
I see this like if they're like up next Camp Coral and it's that shading, that's really bad.
yeah.
Like
Here's
the Adventures of Kid Danger had better coloring and shading. Think about that.
that. I'm not going to blame like the animators or anything for that because they just get told.
No.
Of course, I know you're not. I was just gonna say
Like,
before what
why
I
does
say.
Nickelodeon not give their cash cow like a bigger budget?
Like,
No, I'm
the-
gonna like.
SpongeBob
I'm stating that
billions,
before what I
so
say.
I don't get why they can't have like a giant budget for it.
That's my point. Is like, I don't blame the animators for working with the budget they have. I feel like I would want to see the budget that the show actually got because I feel like they didn't get enough of what they would need. And for it being SpongeBob, you would think it would have a bigger budget. But I don't know. But, you know, I could also see a big show like SpongeBob getting treated like, well, it's SpongeBob. So no matter what, people are going to watch it. Which, you know, that's not a good outlook to look at it. I don't know if, like, I could just see that happening. I don't know what actually is happening with the budget. But, you know, people will always say, like, kids will watch anything. And that statement always irritates me because kids like good things. Yeah, a lot of kids don't know the complexity behind the shows they like, but they know if something looks bad or if they don't like it. And I don't know. I just hope that people aren't cutting corners because they just doesn't think it matters. Because I think it matters. I think a lot of people would really want to see something with SpongeBob done right.
How do you guys feel about the Sandy problem?
With like, technically in the show, she first met SpongeBob at a different point.
Yeah.
At Tea at the True Dome, yeah.
I do mind that, but honestly, SpongeBob's continuity has always kind of been very messy. Like, it's only been like starting now with, I believe, some of the recent seasons that they tried to keep a little bit of a continuity, at least from last time I saw the recent seasons. But yeah, it is pretty noticeable that SpongeBob met Sandy at Camp Coral even on the first episode. he met her way later.
Yeah.
What?
I think it is like something that, because you could say like a show, it's okay if a show goes against its continuity for a different series, in my opinion, because it's like separate. But the thing is this seems like pretty connected, and they just, I want to say that if they did it right, maybe it wouldn't be such a problem. But I feel like they picked Sandy because there isn't another character to put there. You have Patrick and SpongeBob who are always together, but there's not another character that's really in their age range that they could talk to a lot. So I feel like they put Sandy there for that reason. Which, honestly, it would have been cool if they just like put some extra people with personalities to interact with SpongeBob and Patrick instead of, I don't know, doing that.
The thing that I always go to when it comes to the idea of Sandy being in Camp Coral, even though it doesn't necessarily make sense if you were to look at the history, is just the third movie. Where in the third movie, towards the last third of the third movie, you have this part that explicitly seems to revolve around Camp Coral heavily, in which we see a scene where SpongeBob meets Sandy. But within Camp Coral, it doesn't show that, so you would only know that if you watch the last part of the SpongeBob movie. And one thing that a lot of people, I don't know if you guys have seen it, maybe I'm just on the wrong side, but I haven't really seen a lot of people talk about that this is one of the rare times in which a spin-off or a reboot of an animated show is running against the original show. I don't know how often that happens.
Yeah.
Like, at least with Total Drama, it's like it ends and then a new one starts.
Yep. Or like with Madagascar, like the movies aren't like, that's not still going on. And the shows, I don't think they're going on anymore either, so they kind of started afterwards. Yeah.
Only except like things where I've seen like a show like going like running with with a spin-off or like something that's similar to it is maybe some of like the DC shows. Like I remember that I believe the original Justice League was running against like the Batman, but that's like that's like a different thing. But I don't know like one that's like a spin-off that also ran against the original show. Like I've never really seen that. Only where it's like two shows that are like part of the same property, but not really, like some DC Marvel shows.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't have anything that's too close, but the closest thing I can, even though it's a technicality, is that when the Teen Titans Go movie was coming out, they were airing Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go at the same time. I remember they did that a lot. But even that's not even close.
No.
Because the original show way long.
So there really isn't a lot of options when it comes to that. But the other thing that I talked about within my video is that, do you think they're gonna air all of these different properties within like the same like 2 to 3 year period? You got a Patrick one, you got a Squidward one. Like, imagine that for a second. We're not talking about like the Avengers, or Marvel I should say, where there's a whole bunch of movies that come out and it's kind of built into the audience that you're supposed to watch all of those to sort of get the sort of cinematic universe. They're kind of brute forcing that by releasing a whole bunch of new shows right after 20 years of not doing that. I don't know how people are going to react to that.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably.
Like, the analogy I always give is like, when you're on Twitch, you're used to like subs and bits, donations, things like that. But YouTube doesn't necessarily have that culture of like, yes, there's super chats, but that's like nowhere near on a level as like Twitch. When it comes to when you see a streamer on Twitch, there's a lot of different ways to monetarily support. So you can say that the culture for Twitch is different in that way, that people who are on Twitch often know about these tiny little things. And I think that's like the difference between like Marvel Cinematic Universe. And by the way, I'm using that intentionally because I forgot the name of the person, but whoever's running the programming, directing, or maybe if it's I don't think it's the CEO, but it was someone high up at Nickelodeon that said that they were trying to create a cinematic universe with SpongeBob. Those things, if executed correctly, have to be done with care. Like, you can't just like throw out a whole bunch of shows, especially because the beauty of the Avengers is that you are rewarded for watching all of those different movies because they all come together. Whereas with Camp Coral, it blatantly denies history but leans on the legacy, because you wouldn't have Camp Coral without
I don't like
SpongeBob.
That's not good at all. That's just not good writing, because if you are intending, like, if you're trying to make a separate thing, it would be separate, right? That they're not together, meaning you could watch one show and not watch the other, then that's different. But if they're saying that they want to make like a cinematic universe with SpongeBob, they should connect. They should build off lore. If they, SpongeBob fans, I know some hardcore SpongeBob fans, and they love lore. They love the old episodes. They love the characters. They want to see characters that don't usually end up in episodes reappear. They love those little things. So if you're going to make more SpongeBob stuff, maybe dig back into the stuff of the foundation of the show that you made. Or at least expand on it and have the continuity line up. Like, I don't know. That, to me, it seems lazy to kind of like lean on the legacy, but not do anything with that. Not do anything different, and also go against what was previously made.
I'm gonna see if I can try to find the quote, but besides those aspects, how long do you think this show, Camp Coral, is gonna go for?
I'm not sure, honestly. Honestly, I don't think it's gonna run for that long. Like, because if you think about it, it's going on it's not going on
Paramount Plus.
Yeah, it's going on Paramount Plus, which I believe, is that out yet?
No, because I believe they're repackaging it with CBS All Access. Technically, you can sign up for it though.
Well, Camp Coral's on a very, like, I don't want to say obscure, but like,
Nope.
It's not like, Paramount Access is not, or / CBS All Access, it's not really like a Netflix, Hulu, or Disney Plus, or even HBO Max, where you can instantly recognize the name for. No, and you kind of have to like dig for it. Like, it's not, and I haven't even seen that many like advertised. Maybe it's just me, and I haven't even seen that many advertisements for just Paramount Plus in general.
Yeah, no, it's news to me that this is even happening. I'm not surprised, but I didn't know about this before we called. So, whoa, okay. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna last that long. If it is like what we saw with their sneak peek, if somehow this is half-baked and they release something that is better, and maybe even like the new episodes would pull in viewers with unique storylines or something, then maybe, because it is SpongeBob. Like, it would be, to me, it would be really sadly impressive to see a SpongeBob show fail, because that, you have such a fan base and such a budget and all that stuff that I feel like it would be really hard to do that. So I hope they just do it better instead of letting it die, but I don't know if, based on what we see, if it's gonna last that long.
So the actual quote comes from Deseret News. Brian Robbins, president of Nickelodeon, told Variety that Nickelodeon is planning on producing the spin-offs. It would go on to say, the quote being, SpongeBob SquarePants has been running on the network since 1999, and Robbins considers it Nickelodeon's version of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, with lots of room for expansion. Among the options, Nickelodeon is considering to tell an original story about SpongeBob and Patrick, or maybe tell a Sandy Cheeks standalone story, or can Plankton have its own? I think the fans are clamoring for it. So it's very clear that they do intend to now explore these different characters and explore different ideas rather than just the main show. But the thing about a universe is that it's connected, and these are definitely not connected so far. These just feel connected in the way that, yes, these are two shows that have the same characters or similar characters, but that's about it.
And like, honestly, I do love the show. I would rewatch it again and again. Like, so especially like when you mentioned like Plankton, I always liked Plankton. Like, if they gave something to him and it was unique, but also, you know, not obscure in the way where it's going against everything that was built on. But like Plankton as like an antagonist was so well done in my opinion. Like, he definitely has backstory that we get bits and pieces of, but like never a lot. And he's grown over the years, although I haven't seen like the new seasons of SpongeBob, so I don't know what they did with him there. But like, I would like to see more of him. I remember he did do an appearance in Camp Coral, but I think it was only like him on screen for like very briefly, and that was it. But if they were going to use it to expand or do unique stories, maybe it would work. But then I don't feel like Camp Coral would really be a great start to making that happen. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
they could have started off with some other stuff then. Or like, I remember some people, was it you, Omega? Was it you and Jay, or was it somebody else I talked to who said you would like to see like Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy and just like something based off them?
I said that.
Because-
I think Omega might have also said that. I remember
you saying something like that, where you wanted like a full-blown Merman and Barnacle series, and not just one little
Yeah.
like,
7-minute
SpongeBob
episode we
has
got.
a world where they could expand off stuff like they want, but I just don't
Honestly,
know what they're doing yet.
maybe not in this podcast episode, but one of these days we have to go back. I wanted to like really expand that 7 ways SpongeBob can do a spin-off video, because I still enjoy all of those ideas. I still remember a lot of them, like Patrick going and visit, and it's like a Patrick and his family thing rather than a late night talk show. But like Patrick with his family, or maybe like Sandy in a surface world, and like you kind of try to develop Sandy as a strong protagonist.
World one, that'd be kind of cool.
Or like Squidward goes back into that perfect society full of squids, and he just has like, there's crabs with the pirate, like there's so many different things that you can do.
Also expand on that. Bikini Bottom, like, isn't it kind of inferred that it's like a radioactive place? Like, I don't know. I think they
I'll
could.
need to consult the SpongeBob expert here, Omega.
Is that true?
Not of
Is that just fan
more
theory?
of. I think that's a fan theory. I don't
No,
know
I
if
think
that's real.
that. But
Unless
like,
I know.
Bikini Bottom is like, from what I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's an actual place that like got tested on for dropping like bombs in. And like there is some actual basis to what they wrote surrounding that, and that's why like in the show there's so many like random explosions or
Yeah.
something. But like, even just like those little pieces of lore I feel like could be expanded on. Not saying that, oh, SpongeBob should be a post-apocalyptic show, please don't do that. But just saying, like, if Sandy's going to the surface world, what does the surface world look like there? Or like, is there some places outside Bikini Bottom in the ocean that look different or something? Like, I would like to see some of the stuff even involving the setting of which they made it in.
Oh, so I think I know the reason why people think Bikini Bottom might be radioactive, because apparently, from what I've read, it is Bikini Bottom is kind of based off a place known as Bikini Atoll, which was like a test site for nuclear weapons.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, I remember reading that at some point, and I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense, especially because they always show the pictures of them dropping like bombs and stuff. And then of course they're like fish who talk, and I believe there's even some settings in it that look very range or something. I don't know. There's lore to it. The SpongeBob experts, like, honestly, I could get one of my friends just obsessed with SpongeBob to talk about everything regarding that, because they would do a lot better job than I would.
Well, nearing out the end of our first podcast, I feel like we're gonna have to leave the movie that tried my life to the next one, because we are definitely not getting through all of the nuances of that in 7 minutes. So, my two executives here, both, I'd like for them to share their individual cartoon stuff that they want to talk about. So at the end of each podcast, what we want to do is we want to highlight different ideas that people have shared on the interwebs, and just sort of look through the idea, all of the good parts, just support different artists and their different ideas.
The way that you set that up made me feel like I was in kindergarten again. Like, you're like, you represent what you found, like Minx, Teacher J.
No, because I gave you guys a segue earlier and like it missed. Like I threw a boomerang and like
Bruh,
it just went right past. And I was like, okay, we're not doing that again.
You have
it's fine. It's episode 1. So like I when we get to episode 100, I guarantee I'm gonna make a compilation called Miss Segues, where I'm like, haha, this reminds me of X, Y, and Z, and then it's like
No.
radio silence, and it's like, all right, fine, so let me talk about X, Y, and Z.
It's tragic.
So
Teacher.
no, I gotta lead you into this segue.
Show and tell time. Yes. Okay. So yeah, we did find some pretty cool pilot pitches that people were making, because the Better Cartoon hashtag happened out of Ren and Stimpy, right? Doing like a reboot, and people were like, this is a better cartoon that we could do instead. And so a bunch of indie people would share their ideas for pilot pitches, and we think it's really cool, so we would like to go over some of those. At first, I saw this one, which I just thought was kind of wacky. The one that's called Noisy Nomads, where it just looks like a group of bards kind of going on an adventure to, like, let me see here. I gotta pull it up. Yeah, it says, so if you like some fantasy-themed musical comedies about the struggle of living your life in your own terms, we have something nice for you. And I think, yeah, it's about a bunch of, like, I believe there's 4 characters who are just a bunch of bards who travel around, who are supposed to be kind of comedic, in this kind of, again, fantasy kind of theme world, who are just kind of living their life on their own terms. And that's a very, like, bard mentality, because bards don't really stay in one place. They kind of live their own life like that. So I don't know. I think it would be an interesting idea, and we do have like a lot of fantasy themed shows, but this I feel like is more of like D&D kind of medieval feeling, more than like witches or magic in that way. Does that make sense? I mean, they're similar, but I feel like it's different enough and comedic enough where it would work.
By the way, that's the Miss Segue from Omega.
Oh my god.
Ah, yes. I'm fully professional right now. Okay. So this one doesn't actually have a name, but this one is by this one is about a family of oddballs that embark on a series-long quest to discover the secrets of the legendary planet Earth. And they kind of want to know like how humans went extinct. I really like the designs the person chose for this one. It doesn't really have a name as far as I'm aware. Their pitch, but I really like these like kind of space aliens they have here. And I just think it looks really cool.
So we have a fantasy-themed musical comedy and a energetic, wacky space sort of adventure. Now, I probably should not lead the talk on musicals because I'm not a big fan of them. But from what I see of the art style, it looks really nice. I know a lot of people love them. If TV Universe the movie has showed me anything, people love them. my class in D&D was Warlock. Wasn't necessarily a bard. I think I only know one person who's ever been a bard.
Do bards irritate you, Jay?
From D&D, no. What irritates me is that I've been trying to get the same D&D party set up for like a year, and they still let me down.
Oh no. Just exposing your friends like that.
I love my friends, but I also want to go on an adventure. If they all want to be bards and I could be a wizard, that's completely fine with me. I don't, just let's do it. I think it's fine. I'm pretty sure you guys would probably have more to say about that in particular. I definitely would support it. And then the oddball space, I think that's just speaking to me. I could definitely see it working. You know, them trying to
Actually, if you go check out his website, he has like animated clips for it and everything, and it's voice acted. Very nice.
I really
Very nice
like
put
when
together.
people go out of their way to do that, because that takes a lot more work to get done. But in the exchange of that is that it becomes a lot clearer to understand like all of the nuances that you don't necessarily see in still images. But yeah, I definitely do like both. I like the design of the bottom better, but I like the idea of the top like more.
Yeah, I would definitely want to see more of like the actual pitch of both of them, because I don't know that much about them. I just like their idea and their styles of what they've shown so far. That's cool, but I would like to actually see like more of it. Yeah, I don't know.
So with these two shows, which network would you put them on?
For the Noisy Nomads, either Disney or Netflix.
Yeah.
For the space one, the Oddballs one, that's actually kind of a hard one.
I will say I've seen clips, and they do have some comedy that is more adult-like, I would say.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't think it would be something you would necessarily put straight up on a
You know what? Then let's throw a curveball. This is going on Hulu. Yeah, let's not even say Disney or Adult Swim. This is going on Hulu. This is going to be the biggest cartoon on Hulu.
Original.
Hulu original.
Let's go. Oh my
They're Amazon Prime. You be the biggest thing on Amazon Prime since Baby Shark, which I still haven't dragged you guys to watch yet.
And you never will. I mean, what? That's... You know, actually, I've changed my mind. I will watch it, Jay, if you can sing to me the Baby Shark song. That's my compromise. I will watch it if you can sing it to me.
Why do you want me to sing?
Maybe even like on the podcast, like that would be an extra. Just I think that's a really good idea. So
There are many things I will do
I
on the
bet you just start
podcast,
singing it.
all right, to make the podcast entertaining. But I can't be the only one here singing, dancing, collecting segues.
I didn't tell you to do
It needs to be a group effort. I need for Ava to explode. I need Omega to pull out his encyclopedia of facts. He's gonna bring
I'll
out.
get a harmonica out. There we go.
Although you probably can't scream today because you've been doing a lot of voice acting work. Look, we have gotten through this hour. It wasn't that bad.
You're
We
avoiding
survived.
the Baby Shark singing. I need.
I am avoiding it.
Yeah, exactly. One day, I will
Look.
get you to sing that on the podcast.
Look, I think that these two cartoon pilot ideas are really cool, really nice,
Definitely.
and I definitely would greenlight both of them.
Yeah, I would definitely want to see. I think they have enough variety where I'd be like, yeah, I would like to greenlight that. I want to see more. Give me more.
All right, you two, end this podcast. Give me your nice closer, your nice conclusion.
Conclusion to this whole thing. Yeah. Well, thank you for having me, Jay. You're so great, Jay. We love you.
That is a lie.
No. I don't know what you're talking about. I treat Jay outside of this podcast very sweetly. He's just lying to you. But no, I'm
Ouch.
glad to be here. And I hope I can loosen up more as I get to talk to this audience of amazing people who are listening. So yes, thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me, Jay. I'm really excited for this. And yeah.
I just want to say you both sound like you're not coming on episode 2. You're like, thanks for having me, but like that's what guests say. Thank the audience.
I'm dying.
Look, I don't care. Turn to the audience and thank them.
Thank you,
I am.
audience. Thank you,
So,
internet.
listen,
Thank you. Like you gotta.
I
Look.
am like a little schoolboy who's trying to give them my love letter. I don't know what to do, Jay. I'm like, hi, Rebecca, can you maybe like you see this
But your crush's name is Rebecca.
Listen, yeah, that's
Oh.
your
You would have a crush named Rebecca. You know what?
listen.
All right,
Wow.
podcast over. I would have sold the dog in that.
Oh my gosh, Jay, I'm going to hit you.
I
Wait, don't
already no. I already stopped it.